there were times we certainly went through our struggles emotionally when after being told that our 4-year-old son was never going to be able to do anything because that was kind of the theme of what they said. And they said it, they were doing their job and they had tested him, but testing doesn't measure everything.
No.
So they told
No.
us that he would never be able to read. And then we add that to the dexterity issues. And we were like, oh my gosh, what's he going to be able to do in his life? And I tell that to parents so they don't give up. Don't let the diagnosis destroy their hope.
Gwen, I'm so happy to have you here today. Welcome. And welcome
Thank you.
everyone to a brand new season of Lighthouse Cove's podcast Direct Line. I'm so excited to kick off this season with someone whose story is both personal and powerful. Gwen Harshaw's connection to the IDD community started in a deeply personal way back in 2000 when her son Zayne was diagnosed with autism. Since then, she's turned that experience into years of advocacy, leadership, and service to organizations supporting people with disabilities. Today, Gwen works as a consultant with the International Council on Development and Learning, and we're also very fortunate to have her serving on the board here at Lighthouse Cove, formerly OADSP. Gwen, thank you for being here and for everything you bring to this community. Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey in the IDD field?
Thank you, Katrina. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm so excited to be involved with Lighthouse Cove. I did a little sleuthing, and I realized I met you and Bethany. I think
Yes.
it was in 2017,
Yes, at an
and
opera
and
conference.
and it has led to it's almost 10 years. Oh my goodness. So it's led to a
Oh,
very fruitful relationship. And I met you because Zayne was playing at a conference for opera, the Ohio Providers Resource Association, and we just met and hit it off, and I was able to listen to your presentation, and it's been wonderful. Um I think what I do, my family does with advocacy for people with autism and all disabilities, in fact, really grew out of the event that you mentioned, my son being diagnosed in 2000, the turn of the century. Makes me
God.
feel old. And did not foresee this, but I definitely know this is what I'm meant to do. I mean, I think I was like a lot of people. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was in high school, when I was college age, but there have been so many wonderful, and maybe some not as wonderful events that have definitely directed my path. So after my son got diagnosed when he was 4 years old, we went about trying to find everything we could do to help him. And of course, we had some wonderful teachers and some therapists. He took a lot of therapies. He took speech therapy um, throughout his whole school career. He took occupational therapy for almost 8 years. He had vision therapy, and we did hippotherapy, which is a fancy dancy word for horse therapy, where he rode
Good
on
Lord.
horses, and we did everything, and I think all of them helped. But what
Yeah.
we discovered, ironically, when he got a little bit older, his interest in music really helped transform him. And it started with a video game, Guitar Hero,
Wow.
and
Guitar
he
here.
he he got pretty good. And he was playing it, and when he was 11 years old, well, I'm skipped something. But he was always interested in music. And I admit this because I want parents to know we didn't foresee anything. We thought it was nice, but it wasn't schoolwork because we had gotten all these predictions that he would never be able to read and all these things he would never be able to do, which in most cases they were wrong. But he did get in the band at school. It was a school for children with autism. He played the trumpet, and it just lit a flame in him. And then he played Guitar Hero, which is a video game where you play a controller that's shaped like a guitar and you play different songs. He loved that. He got so good at it. And then when he was 11 going on 12, he made this grand announcement to my husband and
Mhm.
myself. We were watching TV in the family room, and he got up in front of the TV and stood there and said, "I want the real thing." And we're like, "The real what?" He's like, "I want a real guitar."
Wow.
And he would also, and this was a young man who was slow to talk. He speaks fine now, but that's why he was
Mhm.
taking speech therapy. He almost demanded. He goes, "I want the real thing." So for his 12th birthday, he got a guitar,
Yeah.
which proceeded to sit in his room and collect dust for 2 years, which is what we kind of
Ah,
expected. 'Cause
okay.
and I need to add this part, he had severe dexterity issues, so he had to have occupational therapy as well, and he
Mhm.
struggled at the time when he was younger to button his shirt, to tie his shoes. So when he said he wanted to play the guitar, we were not discouraging to him, but in the back of our minds, my husband and myself, we were like, "Ugh, what's he struggles to button his shirt, come on." Well,
Yeah.
however many years later, he is a professional guitarist, an award-winning guitarist, and who would have thunk it? And that's part of our message. So he has a band, and what I was
Mhm.
beginning to say is he would tell us back then when he was slow to talk, he was scared to talk to adults. He was very low key and subtle. He didn't like to make a fuss, but he would tell myself and his dad that he was going to have a band. And we thought it was cute and we thought it was fun, but we were like in the back of our, like I said, in the back of our minds, we were like, come on. Well, coming here, he is a professional guitarist. Like I said, he's an award-winning guitarist. His band, Blue Spectrum, which we formed, and we started out just as a play date for young people with autism. We had 4 young people in high school that
Mhm.
we had met through other organizations that work in the disability field. We were attending the Nisonger program's Aspirations, which is for social skills for teenagers and young adults with autism. We met a young man who was in Children's Hospital. They had a teen unit for kids with autism and Special Olympics. In fact, his first bandmate was his teammate from Special Olympics, and they were pretty good, but it was just a hobby. They played in the basement. And then but they were good. They were surprisingly good. And I always point that out because the expectation when someone has a disability is they can't be exceptional in some other way. You never know. There's a
Mhm.
term, it's called splinter skills. I think it's fallen out of favor. I don't know why, but I think it perfectly describes humanity. And what I mean by that, splinter skills describes a situation where someone has difficulty or even a disability in one area, but they're
Mhm.
exceptional or exceptionally talented in another. And
Yeah.
I think that describes all of us to a certain degree. We all have strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
So, I mean, people with disabilities are part of humanity. So we allow for that because it's so easy to get bogged down when you're a parent or a caregiver and a loved one gets a disability diagnosis, it's so easy to just give up on everything.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we could have done that. I mean, and probably there were times we certainly went through our struggles emotionally when after being told that our 4-year-old son was never going to be able to do anything because that was kind of the theme of what they said. And they said it, I mean, they were doing their job and they had tested him, but testing doesn't measure everything.
No.
So they told
N
us that he would never be able to read. And then we add that to the dexterity issues and things. And I mean, we were like, oh my gosh, what's he going to be able to do in his life? And I tell that to parents so they don't give up. They don't let the diagnosis destroy their hope.
Yeah.
One of the phrases I've been told that really describes it, because we always say coming out of that first diagnosis where we told all these negative predictions, and it's like Zayne, when we walked out of that doctor's office, was the same little boy that had walked in there. But myself and my husband, as his parents, we were changed. We looked at him in a different lens. We threw away all our expectations, all our hopes. And I'm so grateful that I had enough people in my life that supported me that I didn't give up because that could easily be a self fulfilling prophecy. If you're told your child will never read, you, why would you try to teach them? They can't do it. And they were wrong. Zane is actually a very good reader. I'm not
Mhm.
saying he still has autism. He has some things he struggles with, but there are things he is exceptional at. And
Absolutely.
every human being has that right to explore what they're interested in, what they're passionate about, and what they may very well be exceptional at. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of how we got started. And we formed the band Blue Spectrum, my son's band, and it started out with 4 kids on the spectrum. And that was in 2013. So we just celebrated our 13th anniversary in January. Um,
Is it still the
and
same
it's
4
just grown.
board mem is it still the same 4 members from high school? Is it the
No,
original
it's
4 or has it changed?
no, and in fact, and I think that's a statement is in itself. So now with the band, we still have 4 members, although we may have a young lady joining us as a vocalist. We have a male vocalist. We wanted a female vocalist, but Zayne is the only one with autism, and the other members, um, our keyboardist is blind, so she does have a
Mhm.
disability. She's phenomenal. The other two members, our drummer, our percussionist, our sound guy, is my age, so he's adult.
As
He's
young
been an
as
adult
us.
for a long time.
As young as
And
us.
our say what?
I said, "As young as us."
As young as
Alright.
us, that's right.
You said he's
And
young as us.
Zane's uncle is our bass player and our vocalist. He's phenomenal, and I think that represents true inclusion, that we
Yes.
have various members with various levels of abilities in different areas, but they make
Mhm.
beautiful music together.
Oh, yes, I've had the pleasure of hearing Zane. I can't remember, I think I have heard Blue Spectrum, um, and that would take me I'm not sure which it was. I think it was a birthday celebration that we went to listen to Zane and Blue Spectrum at a bar, I think in, Columbus, which does lead
Awesome.
me to the question of when you met Bethany. Bethany Toledo is the, executive director here at Lighthouse Cove, and as we mentioned earlier, Gwen and myself and Bethany met around 2017, we think. But then you 2 then continued a conversation after that, and it led you to, Zane performing at the, DSP recognition event. I think that's correct, right? Yes. And,
That's correct.
the night before, we always have like a get together. We welcome all speakers. We have a council, and they all attend the night before. And you guys met at a restaurant called, I'm going to look it over here on my notes, uh, Giomarco's. How do you say
Gia
that?
Marco's, which is a fabulous Italian restaurant. If you're ever in Columbus, check it out. And we've been playing there ever since. That was in 2020 during the
Now tell me
pandemic.
about that story. How did you end up playing? I mean, how did you end up playing there that night, and how did you end up playing there ever since?
That's amazing. I have to give Bethany a lot of credit because she told us at the time, back in 2020, that was one of her favorite restaurants. And they have this beautiful patio out back where people play bocce ball, and it's gorgeous stage. And they normally have music, of course, on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, occasionally Sundays. This meeting that OADSP, or Lighthouse Cove, put together at the time, um, was on the patio on a Monday. And Zane played because he plays solo as well as with his band. And the owner of it happened to drop by. And as we were told by the staff, he never comes by on Mondays. Monday's a really slow day in most
Mhm.
restaurants. And he was confused because he asked them, he goes, "Why do we have music out there? We don't usually have music on Monday." And they explained it was for this conference, this dinner before this conference. So he came out and watched Zane, and truth be told, fell in love, and immediately talked to us. Bethany put in a good word for us too. I know she did. So, but he immediately wanted to hire Zane, and at that time, because that was in September in 2020 during the height of COVID. It was crazy, but he made some room for us because he has some real veteran musicians playing there regularly who've played there for years, and got us in and has kept hiring us. So it's been 5 years.
5
It's
years.
been a little more than 5 years, and we feel so blessed. It's one of our favorite places to play, but
Mhm.
I've also liked it, where we live out loud with Zayne's diagnosis. I mean, we always did. We did it in the beginning, even before the guitar, because we didn't want him to be ashamed of his
Yeah.
diagnosis. We were like,
Mm.
that's part of who you are, and that's okay. And we even created a motto to go with the band Blue Spectrum, because we that the name Blue Spectrum is kind of a call out to autism. Blue is Zane's favorite color, so we just put it together and it's worked really well. The motto of Blue Spectrum is life is not to be viewed through the single lens of a diagnosis, but to be lived through the spectrum of potential, promise, and purpose. And that really is the base of our motto. We play at a lot of conferences, but we also play festivals and nightclubs. Something I'm particularly proud of. We recently won the local Columbus Blues Alliance Blues Challenge, which a lot of bands try out for. When we won it, that meant that a year ago, January of 2025, we represented Columbus in the International Blues Challenge, which had bands from all over the world and literally Europe, China. I mean, it was amazing. And we performed down there and it was great on Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee, which is a very
Oh,
historical
yes.
street. And we
Mhm.
we continue to live out loud. We talk about autism and we try to get people's build people's awareness and
Mhm.
acceptance of disabilities. And I'll tell you, it's been wonderful, and things have changed because I will admit, in the beginning, because we led with that in Blue Spectrum, when people hadn't seen us or hadn't seen my son, unfortunately, they assumed that he wasn't very good. But over these 13 years, we don't really deal with that anymore. Enough people have seen us and have been involved. But I
Uh,
have to tell you, every time we perform in public and we talk about it, we always get to talk to someone who has a connection to autism or disability because it's common. Most people are connected to disability, and we just love being able to talk about it in an inspirational way, in a
mhm.
hopeful way. And we've had people say, "Well, why do you even talk about autism?" And I'm like, "Because it's important for people to know." And
Yes.
so, we're just thrilled. We weren't expecting this. It's been so organic. So when we first started going out with Zane, perhaps to play at open mics, I mean,
Yeah.
unpaid gigs, but they were wonderful,
Mhm.
and they're in bars. I'll talk about that more a little bit later. But
Yes, yes.
after
That w
he would play and we would mention he had autism, people started asking us questions. People started putting microphones in our face, and we're like, "Oh, okay, we need to come up with a a tagline or something because it really gets people's interest." And it's just a way to show what people with disabilities can do, show them having dignity
Mhm.
and like everybody else. And we're just thrilled to be where we're at right now. So,
I think you mentioned to me in our discussion earlier before this recording about, a teaching style, like how different people learn, and that when Zane was in school, you said that you would, have him do his homework or a lesson or something, and then the reward you gave him afterwards was to play music. And then at some
right.
point, you realize that, wait, if he plays music first and we switch this up, he's now ready to engage in doing his schoolwork. And you talked about how you wanted to share that message with others and other family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, we had our epiphany as well. So in the beginning when we got the diagnosis, we were struggling, we were operating out of fear,
mhm,
and it was a journey because we didn't know either. But in the beginning, when he first expressed the interest in the music, even the guitar, we kind of looked at it as a toy, just like Guitar Hero. It's a toy. It was nice, and he wasn't allowed to touch it till he finished his homework. And then we
mhm,
started to notice if he had time to play around on the guitar, play some music, engage that, he was able to focus and concentrate on his homework so much better. It just did so much for him. His personhood, it gave him a sense of pride when he would go to the open mics and play. And it was amazing. And we can often discredit just having a hobby. I mean,
Mhm.
most people have some sort of hobby that they don't make money from it necessarily. It's not a career, but it definitely makes their life worth living. And people with disabilities deserve that as well.
And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your involvement with Lighthouse Cove and your journey. And I was told recently that you attended Leadership Launchpad, and again, and I think we discussed that earlier. It was like 2019, pre-COVID, we think.
Yes.
And then at some point, you were invited to join the board. And because you're so involved in so many boards that it took us a couple of years to get you, but we did, we did manage to get you to become a member of the Lighthouse Cove board. And what I would like to hear from you is how that experience has been for you. What, how has that board impacted you?
Oh, magnificently. I mean, I'm so grateful to be part of such a wonderful organization that is addressing multiple issues in the disability community and beyond in innovative ways. And I am just so proud. I mean, like I said earlier, Lighthouse Cove shares the same core values that we do. Your Lighthouse Cove's mission centers on equipping direct support professionals with training, recognition, and professional development needed to provide high quality, person centered support. And
Hmm.
if we think about it, direct support professionals are often the bridge between an individual with disabilities potential and the opportunity to fully participate in the community. And I think that's so important. And if I want to be a little transparent. There are organizations that are wonderful that support people with disabilities. A lot of times the focus is narrowly on education. Now, don't misquote me. Education is very, very important, obviously.
Hmm.
But having a full life is more than just education. Um, for example, I do know a number of young adults with autism who are brilliant, but they do have autism, so they struggle with some social skills. And I know a couple of them who have multiple degrees. I mean, they're very well equipped, but they can't keep a job because of the lack of social skills. So you got to focus on that too. And that's important society wide. I mean, we have a loneliness epidemic. The Surgeon General said that,
Hmm.
and people are so disconnected, and that has many really debilitating offshoots for people, and they're not doing
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
I love what Lighthouse Cove does. Their focus on the DSPs and even in growing the DSPs, the direct support professionals, and and creating outlets for their life. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
win-win all the way
Mhm.
around, and I'm just grateful to be involved with you guys.
That is wonderful. And then you also attended one of our events, which is called the Leadership Launch Tab. It's a 3-day leadership retreat, no titles. So anyone and everyone can attend. And I think you participated that again around 2020, I think we if neither of us
I
remember,
think I went before then.
unfortunately.
I think I went when I first met you guys. I know it's been a while. I had to think about it to remember. I actually think I
Yeah.
went in November of 2017. It was either then or it was early 2018. So it was a while ago. And again, blown away, but by all the training. If people are equipped, they will do their job even better. And I remember one exercise with Bethany at the Leadership Launchpad, and it was kind of a sad exercise. I'm trying to remember the details, but it was trying to dig down why there are issues sometimes. There are serious issues with the direct support professional workforce. And some of it's
Yeah.
money, some of it's other things, but there is um, a low line problem where sometimes general community doesn't respect it. The job they
Hmm.
do, they don't realize all they do. And it kinda comes from the fact that people don't consider people with disabilities, and they don't consider what their needs are, and they don't
Hmm.
consider what their gifts can be and how they can contribute to our society, and they're just as important. And it's really sad, but Lighthouse Cove is directly addressing that issue in so many ways, even trying to provide training um, for high school students, um,
Yes, the
for
DSPU program.
yeah, I mean, and it's awesome. And even um, marginalized communities, immigrants or
Mhm.
whatever, just trying. I mean, I say this all the time because it blew me away. My first Lighthouse Cove meeting, and the phrase I believe Bethany used, we're trying to credentialize people out of poverty. So you
Yes.
guys are helping people with disabilities, and you're helping the community at home, and marginalized society. I mean, marginalized members. And
Mhm.
that's so important, it's so needed, and I'm just blown away.
Yes. Thank you. Bethany always does have these wonderful she can gather it up into a few words, and you sit there back and you're like, oh my goodness, that makes such a lot of sense." Very. Um,
Absolutely.
Tell me, I wanted to get into you a little bit more. Outside of your work and advocacy, what's something you enjoy doing that brings you joy or recharges you?
Um, I'm pretty low key. Now, when I was younger, because I think this was on my biography initially, I took it off. I
You
love video games. Zane got it from
love
me. I
video
mean,
games.
and I like to point I don't really have the time, and I'm getting older, so I don't know if I have the same accuracy, but I enjoyed them. And I bring that up because, particularly in the autism community, there's a lot of interest in video games, and video games kind of have a black eye. People think of them a waste of time, but I don't know if Zane would be doing what he's doing right now if he hadn't played Guitar Hero. He was interested in music. He played the trumpet in school, but Guitar Hero just grabbed him and got him fascinated with the guitar and led to that. So I'm saying that for that parent who's worried that video games aren't good for their child, because it's like anything else. There are tons of books, they're very intellectual books, and then there's trashier books. But reading is important, and you can even use socialization to a certain degree with video games if you connect with people online. So it's like anything else. It can be an effective tool. But if you're addicted to it and you're overusing it, I mean, that covers everything. So not to try to I just don't want parents to automatically um kick that to the curb and thinking it's negative, because it can be
Yeah,
utilized in productive ways. But I like movies and TV shows and just hanging out. I mean, I spend a great deal of time going to Zane's shows. I love
yes.
that. And with Spectrum, but I I'm pretty boring outside of that.
There's nothing boring about you. Oh, goodness me. You Oh my good and now you're working for the International Council on Development and Learning. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing human development. Could you just tell me a little bit more about that and what your role is there?
Absolutely. The International Council on Development and Learning, or ICDL, is a non-for-profit, not-for-profit organization that is dedicated to understanding and promoting each person's development to its fullest potential. Under the leadership of Dr. Stanley Greenspan, ICDL was formed 35 years ago and became the official home of DIR and DIR Floor Time. DIR Floor Time is recognized as a leading evidence-based approach to helping individuals on the autism spectrum and others with neurodevelopmental differences flourish. And what I love about it, of course, they offer services and there are practitioners who utilize it, but they also have a big focus on training parents and caregivers. I mean, because it sounds obvious, but that's not the perspective that a lot of organizations use working with children with autism. Or I mean, they think it's cool, but it like I said with Zane, and that's how we got involved with him. Zane is a perfect example because he was allowed to follow his passion with the guitar,
Mhm.
and it opened up so many things. He was a better student. He was a better human being, and it served his personhood. And I I really shudder when I think if we hadn't have followed that, because I'm it sounds easy now, But at the time, we didn't know, and we could have easily gone down the well-worn path. Well, let's just focus on school, because I was like that. Let's just focus
Mhm.
on academics. Of course, you do that, but let them grow, let them flourish, let them discover their own passions. That's what makes life worth living. And people with disabilities have that right as well. I mean, in the Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. I mean, everyone has that right. And oftentimes, I hate to say it, that's not really considered important for people with disabilities. And
Mhm.
that's so wrong. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that part.
Well, thank you. Um, I just want to say that if you haven't met or heard of Zane, I think a lot of our listeners will have done. But what website should they look up for his Blue Spectrum band? Is it just
Well,
bluespectrum.com?
right. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website. And it's www.bluespectrumband.com.
Blue
And on
Spectrum.
Facebook, Zane has his own Facebook page, Zane, and the guitarist, and Blue Spectrum has their own Facebook page. And we're also on Instagram. Look up under Blue Spectrum. And I mean, who would have thunk it? I mean, this young boy who was told he would never read, who was slow to talk, was socially scared and timid, had
Mhm.
severe dexterity issues, would become this this great guitarist who plays all around Ohio and the nation. I mean, who's won awards. I wouldn't have expected it. We didn't expect it. And
It's
it was
phenomenal.
amazing. And we just want to show, look, you don't know. And that goes for any child. You don't know when a child's 6 months old or 4 years old when he got diagnosed, what they're going to be at 15, what they're going to be at 30. We don't know.
Mhm.
And just trying to encourage people, keep teaching, keep working with them, keep working on the social skills as well as the academics. And there's no telling. And basically, even if he hadn't become a pseudo famous musician, I was thrilled with what the music did for his personhood. I
Yeah.
was purely happy with that. I'm grateful for these other things, but the most important thing for me is his ability to communicate and connect with people. I used to in fact, to this day, after he's played a 3-hour gig, 4-hour gig, and he'll go out and talk to people, that
Mhm.
that used to make me cry every time. I mean, to me, that's more impressive than even the music, because I just know I remember very viscerally a time when he couldn't do that. And I give all the credit to music.
Tell me this, when did he develop his sense of style? If you haven't met Zane, he has an incredible style and presence. And what came first, the style, the looks, the charm? I mean, he's extremely
That is
charming,
hilarious. Oh, and
handsome.
I wish I had a picture to share. So I don't know if you guys can embed a picture
I can,
of him,
I think so. I think we can do that, yes.
but you know what? He learned like all children learn. So when he first started, we operate very differently when he first started. It's been 13 years. So he's an old pro at this point. But in the beginning, I would look for clothes and shirts that were blue. The name of the band is Blue Spectrum. And ironically, I may have mentioned this, Zane's favorite color is Blue Spectrum. And for those of you who aren't that familiar with how one of the, I shouldn't say symptoms, but one of the characteristics of people on the autism spectrum, it can be obsessions. I do believe his obsessiveness with learning the guitar benefited
Mhm.
him. I mean, he taught
Yeah.
himself. We tried to go to a guitar teacher, but that's not really how he learns. But also, as a little kid, he was obsessed with the color blue. Everything had to be blue. We
Mhm.
painted his room blue. We have blue carpet. Everything was blue. He predominantly wore blue clothes. So that's why we named it Blue Spectrum. We wanted to originally name it Spectrum because we had the 4 kids on the spectrum. But when we did a search online, there are about 75, 100 other bands with that name, Spectrum. So we were like, oh. And then my husband said, why don't we call it Blue Spectrum? What works so well. So we started trying to do things with the color. And as most young people or children, I picked out his clothes in the beginning, but he does it now. And he has
Right.
these boots collections and
Boots, yeah. Yeah.
the hat, ironically, the hat I'll share our little secret. The hat is actually a Jimi Hendrix hat, and it was very organic the way that happened. So he was asked to play at an event here in our hometown for Halloween. Um, he was gonna join this other really incredible blues band, and
Mhm.
we were invited on a Sunday before the Wednesday that the event was taking place. So I was like, and it was right around Halloween, and I was like, "Oh, he doesn't have a costume." And so I was brainstorming, and I went online and I saw these Jimi Hendrix hats. And I ordered one, and I wasn't even thinking it was gonna get to us in time. It did. It arrived early the day he was supposed to play. And now the Jimi Hendrix hat is very iconic. It has a purple sash and metal rings around. It's a really sharp looking hat. So that's what he wore. But then we were like, we need to make that sash blue. So we
Yeah.
changed it. Now, going forward 10 plus years, he has, I don't know, 8 of those, different
Oh.
colors. The blue one he always wears with the band, Blue Spectrum,
Mhm.
but he has red, gold, white, green, purple. I'm forgetting some. So like he'll wear a red outfit for Valentine's Day or something.
Okay. Mhm.
He's worn the green with the green hat for Earth Day. And he has multicolored ones for he's played for events for Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, which is coming up, and he wore a combination of purple, yellow, and green. Like the hat was gold or yellow and the shirt was green and purple, and but he's learned like all other children. And I guarantee you, no shade at the doctors, they were doing their job, but they would have told us, oh, he would never be able to do that. I mean, there's so many things he's accomplished. Now it may not be on the exact same timeline as neurotypicals, but nobody's exactly the same in the speed in which they learn, and we really have to keep that in mind. We
Awesome.
have lost so many individuals and whatever hidden gifts and talents they had because we just gave up because, well, they have a disability, so why even try? And that just it kind of burns me up, but that's why I talk against it all the time. That is
Well,
not the
that's why it's so
attitude to have.
important for you to have a voice and all these different avenues that you use to share your voice is just amazing. I do want you to share one more story with me about open mic. You had mentioned to me previously about how you brought open mic and I to the Columbus area, and I just thought it was a
Right.
wonderful story to share.
I love talking about this. This has been like my baby, but again, it was very organic and it was basically inspired by Zane's experience. So, I mentioned this. Zane is self taught. For all intents and purposes, he's self taught. But when we first discovered that he seemed to have a knack for the guitar, we tried to find a guitar teacher. And we did. And we went a couple times. Really nice man. And I will always appreciate him because he's the one who taught us that Zane had perfect pitch, which I didn't know what that was at the time. It's a very rare ability to be able to identify a note with no reference note. And to try to describe what that is, if you've ever seen a cappella singers, a barbershop quartet, so to speak, before they
Mhm.
sing, they always blow into a pitch pipe. And a pitch pipe, it gives them a specific pitch that they have that's their reference pitch. And when they sing all the different octaves that, that blend so magically, they're able to do that. Someone with perfect pitch doesn't need the pitch pipe. They can do it, and it's inborn ability. And it's very rare. Now, this is anecdotal. I want to share this, but I have read a lot about it. It does seem that people on the autism spectrum have it more often than the general population. They seem now not everybody with autism has it, but it seems
Yeah.
to be more common about among people on the spectrum. Don't know what that is. In fact, we tested all the kids in the initial band, and all 4 of them, including Zane, of course, had perfect pitch. And it's incredibly rare, but it enables them to play so well. And I do think that's part of Zane's gift. And so we went to the guitar teacher, and even he kind of said, I don't know what I can teach him. He's developed because he had been playing the guitar for 2 years at that point. He got the guitar for his 12th birthday. It sat and collected dust in his room for 2 years when he was 14. When he was 14, for some reason, he picked it back up, unbeknownst to us, because he was up in his room. We discovered later that he'd been putting his amp in the window and playing for our neighbors. We live on a cul-de-sac. And the part of this story I'm not proud of, but I think it's important to mention. So for 2 years, he was all involved. He was playing for the neighbors, and the neighbors from time to time would mention to us, like, Zane's getting pretty good. And we have great neighbors and they're wonderful. But and this is the part I'm embarrassed of. My husband and I kind of assumed they were just being nice because we're like, well, they know he has autism and they're just being nice. So we didn't think about it and we weren't hearing it. And then there was one day my husband was running an errand and with our older son, and he was playing at that moment. And my husband told our other son, "Can you tell Zane to turn down the radio? That is way too loud." And our older son turned to my husband and said, "Where have you been? That's not the radio. That's Zane."
Wow.
And needless to say, we were blown away. And that's
Yeah.
when we started searching for things to help him get better. But he had already gotten pretty good on his own. So that's when we went to the guitar teacher. He taught us about the perfect pitch, but really there wasn't a lot he could teach Zane. Zane had already accomplished all this. So we were like, what can we do? And we're not musicians. We didn't know what the next steps, but we saw that he was getting really good on the guitar, but beyond that, we saw the effect on his personhood, on how he
Mhm.
engaged society in general, and we just were like, we don't want to let this go. So we started going to open mics. Now, open mics, I didn't even know open mics, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know they existed at the time, but every city has them. Trust me.
Mhm.
They're basically a gathering usually once a week, usually on a weekday, um,
Mhm.
at at a venue where people who are amateurs, you don't usually have professional musicians. There's a host and they all get up and play for 15 minutes or play 2 or 3 songs, and it's just a great community event. The people who attend them regularly, they become a community. It's really nice. And they're all over. And I'm telling you, every city has an open mic. Zane went there, loved it, took to it like a fish to water, and I also noticed he seemed to be able to engage other musicians, more easily than the population in general,
Mhm.
and we were just blown away, but they're always in bars. I mean, I've never seen an open mic that's not in a bar. And at the time, Zane was underage. He was still in school, underage. And my husband and I would kind of laugh. We were like, we are horrible parents. We're taking our autistic underage son to bars, and we were doing it a couple of nights a week sometimes because it just helped him so much, and he just loved it. So I started dreaming, and this is way more than 10 years ago. I started dreaming about an open mic that was disability friendly and family friendly because some people are not going to be comfortable walking into a bar, particularly with their
Right.
child. And I
Yeah.
wanted to do it so bad. And I tried and I approached some of those venues and I talked to people and nobody understood my vision. They just looked, I mean, they didn't see it as a money-making possibility, and it was so bad, I kinda gave up, and that is a representative of the views sometimes people have of disability. They just don't
Yes.
expect anything, and it kinda broke my
Mm.
heart, but I gave up. So, then this is what's amazing, and this is why I know this is what God wants me to do. In 2019, I was the keynote speaker for the Autism Society of America, and that was in
Mhm.
Bethesda, Maryland. And of course, Zane was playing. That's why we were
Yep.
there. But I was the keynote speaker telling his story, and it was great. It was a wonderful experience. One of the best things is we met people from all over the nation connected to autism, even some people internationally. It was wonderful, including the executive director of Pittsburgh's Autism Society. Had some great
Okay.
conversations. We left the conference wanting to reconnect with them, and we were going to talk more about different ideas. They wanted to bring Zane and his band to a annual blues festival in Pittsburgh. It's called the Blues and Roots Festival, and we have played there
Mhm.
twice since then. So that was in May of 2019. So in December, one of the members, one of the partners with the Autism Society of Pittsburgh called us, and he was going to come to Columbus and talk about some other ideas regarding autism and opportunities. And we were like, we were thrilled. And I realized mid conversation that Zane already had a performance in Pittsburgh scheduled the next month, January of 2020, right before the world fell apart, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, we're going to be in your city. We can just come there and talk to you. And he was like, that's great. So and it was, I believe it was the second Friday or the second weekend in January of 2020. It was Friday night. Zayne's performance was Friday night. So normally we might have just come home on Saturday
Mhm.
morning, but
Yeah.
we were like, okay, we'll stay and hang out. So we went and we met with the people from the Autism Society of Pittsburgh, and they told us about all these things they were doing. It was so impressive. And they mentioned something called Band Together that they had had for, I think, 5 years at the time. And it was exactly what I had been dreaming of. It was an autism friendly open mic. And we're like, oh my God, meets once a month. It happened to be meeting that Sunday, that weekend. We were already in Pittsburgh. So we were like, okay, we're staying through Sunday and we got to see this. So we went to it where we were blown away. I'm like, that's exactly what I've been dreaming of. And they have been so gracious. The Pittsburgh organization, they they allowed us to use their logo, and they gave us a lot of pointers and tips. They even came to Columbus to check out our first venue. We were in a historical
Uh-huh.
sanctuary, which was beautiful. And
Okay.
it's just been wonderful. And so we named it Band Together Central Ohio after Band Together Pittsburgh, and it's
Okay.
taken off. We just celebrated our third anniversary. It'll be our fourth anniversary in August of 2026. And the effect on the participants, and anybody's welcome. We've had people who don't have autism perform, but all
Mhm.
disabilities are welcome. But it's not a contest and it's not a talent show. It's it's a community. It's social connection. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be music. We have had people, we had one young lady read a poem. We had a young man who's writing a book, read his first chapter. There was a young lady who talked about having autism and how it affected her life. And
Mhm.
especially for our regulars, the growth you see in them, their confidence and their growth and socialization, who do it just by having that opportunity, which already happens all the time in all the cities on open mic. So you can just express your passion, work on a song you're working on. It's been incredible. And we have a motto for that too. And it is open mic, open mind, open heart. And we really emphasize it is not a contest. Everyone is applauded, everyone is supported, and it's also a great social outlet for the community, parents, caregivers, and it's a good time. And we've partnered with the Autism Society of Central Ohio, and they help with funding because we provide free pizza and soft drinks for
Mhm.
anybody who attends. But it's at a place called Gatsby's now, which is a restaurant, a bar, but a really warm feeling, a place with a lot of warm feelings, and it's
Mhm.
comfortable. And I'll mention one little other thing that is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I may have mentioned this to you before, Katrina. There, I recently, well, not that recently, learned the term infantilize, and it's used in disability communities. And basically, people are well-meaning, but often people will infantilize adults, full-grown adults who have a disability, and they'll treat
Yeah.
them more like children, and they won't give
Mhm.
them choices. What I love about Band Together and Gatsby's, it's a family restaurant and it's open, but it is a bar. If an adult who can legally drink alcohol comes to Band Together and they want to order a beer or a glass of wine, and it's something they can have the pizza, but they can have something else. Their food is great, they can
Mhm.
do that because 'cause they're an adult, and they should be allowed to have that ability. So I think that's really important. When we were at the sanctuary, beautiful venue, but where we're at now reflects the community more. And
It
it just
Yeah.
it's more available, it's more welcoming. So I'm grateful to the sanctuary that got us off. We were there like the first year, but I really love where we're at now. And it's called Band Together Central Ohio. We're on Facebook. We're putting together a website. Also, we are still in partnership with Pittsburgh. We're trying to expand it nationally. Pittsburgh has started one in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours from Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
And I've had conversations with people in Cincinnati,
Mhm.
and we'll see what happens. But it's a not for profit endeavor. It's not for that, but it is so rewarding just to see the people's reaction and the friendships. I mean, we have one young lady and young man who are dating now, and they met there.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
It's wonderful. And like I said, the caregivers and the parents, we all have a good time, and I just love it. And it's something I had dreamed about for I don't know how long, way more than 10 years. And
That's
I'd given
that.
up on it. And then I met Pittsburgh, the people in Pittsburgh, and that amazing coincidence, if you believe in coincidences. And I'm like, I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And we also have them perform sometimes at other events. They've performed twice at the Ohio State Fair. They're going to be performing at the Franklin County Conservatory and Botanical Gardens next
right.
month. So it gets us out in the community. So it's been great.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Gwen, so much for being on the podcast, Direct Line. We really enjoyed talking to you today. I especially had a great time chatting to you. And thank you.
Okay, thank you.
With the launch of Lighthouse Cove, our work continues with the growing and renewed direction of our podcast, The Direct Line. With conversations, stories, and on-location interviews, The Direct Line supports the mission of Lighthouse Cove to educate, elevate, and empower professionals across the IDD field. Tune in to the Direct Line podcast, brought to you by Lighthouse Cove every Thursday on YouTube and all other podcast platforms. Lighthouse Cove, it's more than a name. It's who we are.